Listen carefully. Florence Scovel Shinn said that the game of life is a game of boomerangs. Our thoughts, deeds, and words return to us sooner or later with astounding accuracy. If you're still struggling with lack and limitation, today, you'll discover why your words are creating your reality and how to transform it immediately. There is a phrase so powerful, so aligned with spiritual law, that speaking it just once with true conviction can shift your entire financial reality. This isn't wishful thinking or empty promise. This is the ancient truth that Florence Scovel Shinn taught throughout her life. The principle that your word is your wand, and what you decree shall come to pass. Today, you're going to learn not just the phrase, but the spiritual science behind why it works, how to speak it with the faith that moves mountains, and what to expect when you finally align your spoken word with divine abundance. If you're ready to stop blocking your abundance and start speaking wealth into existence, leave "I am prosperous" in the comments, subscribe to the channel, and activate notifications so you don't miss any lesson on spiritual prosperity. This is your moment to break free from poverty consciousness and step into the abundant life that has always been yours by divine right. Most people live their entire lives never understanding the power they hold in their own mouths. They speak words of lack, limitation, and fear, and then wonder why their bank accounts remain empty, why opportunities pass them by, why financial struggle seems to be their permanent companion. They say things like, "I can't afford it. Money is tight. I'm always broke. Rich people are lucky and I'm not." And they have no idea that every single word is a decree, a command to the universe, an instruction to their subconscious mind about what to create in their external reality. Florence Scovel Shinn understood this fundamental spiritual law better than almost anyone in history. She taught that we are constantly creating our reality through the words we speak, and that most people are unconsciously creating the very poverty and limitation they claim to despise. The problem is that our culture has trained us in poverty consciousness from childhood. We were told that money doesn't grow on trees, that we have to work hard for every penny, that wanting wealth is somehow greedy or selfish, that there's not enough to go around, so we better grab what we can and hold on tight. We were taught to fear scarcity, to expect struggle, to accept limitation as normal and inevitable. These beliefs became embedded in our subconscious minds, and now they run like software programs in the background of our consciousness, automatically generating thoughts, words, and actions that perpetuate financial lack. Every time you look at your bank account and say, "I don't have enough," you're reinforcing poverty consciousness. Every time you decline an invitation because "I can't afford it," you're speaking lack into existence. Every time you worry about bills or complain about your financial situation, you're using your creative word power to manufacture more of exactly what you don't want. What most people don't realize is that the subconscious mind doesn't judge whether what you're saying is good or bad, desired or undesired. It simply accepts what you tell it as truth and goes to work creating the mental equivalent in your external reality. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that the subconscious mind is like fertile soil. Whatever seed you plant, it will grow. Plant seeds of lack and you'll harvest poverty. Plant seeds of abundance and you'll harvest wealth. It's spiritual law, as reliable and consistent as the law of gravity. The universe is not withholding abundance from you. You are withholding it from yourself through the words you speak and the beliefs you hold. Think about how you talk about money on a daily basis. Listen to the casual comments you make. "I'm broke. I can't afford that. Money is so hard to come by. The economy is terrible. I'll never get ahead." Every single one of these statements is an affirmation, whether you realize it or not. You are affirming lack, limitation, and poverty. You are literally speaking these conditions into your life. And then, when your external reality matches what you've been affirming, you think it's just bad luck or unfortunate circumstances, never realizing that you are the creator of your own experience through the power of your spoken word. Florence Scovel Shinn always taught that understanding spiritual law is the key to transforming your life. She explained that we live in a universe governed by precise spiritual principles, and when we align with these principles, we can manifest anything we desire. One of the most fundamental of these principles is the law of the spoken word. Your word is creative. Your word is powerful. Your word is a force that shapes reality. This isn't poetry or metaphor. This is literal truth. When you speak, you set energy in motion. When you declare something with faith and conviction, you activate spiritual law and begin drawing that reality toward you. The principle Florence Scovel Shinn taught so brilliantly is that there is infinite supply in the universe. God, the universe, infinite intelligence, whatever name you prefer, is abundant beyond measure. There is no shortage, no scarcity, no lack in the spiritual realm. All limitation exists only in human consciousness, in our thoughts and beliefs and words. When you align your consciousness with divine abundance, when you train your mind to think prosperity and train your mouth to speak wealth, you open the channel for infinite supply to flow into your life. You become a magnet for money. You become a conduit for divine provision. You move from poverty consciousness to prosperity consciousness, and your external reality must change to match this internal transformation. This is where the power of a single phrase comes in. Florence Scovel Shinn was a master of crafting affirmations that encapsulated spiritual truth in a way that could penetrate the subconscious mind and reprogram limiting beliefs. She understood that certain combinations of words carry a vibrational frequency that aligns with abundance, prosperity, and divine supply. When you speak these words with faith, with conviction, with absolute belief in the spiritual law behind them, something shifts in your consciousness. A doorway opens. A channel clears, and money, which is simply energy in form, begins flowing toward you with what can seem like miraculous speed. The phrase I'm about to share with you is not magic in the sense of supernatural trickery. It's magic in the sense of spiritual science. It works because it aligns your consciousness with abundance. It works because it reprograms your subconscious mind. It works because it activates the law of attraction. It works because your word is your wand, and what you decree with faith shall come to pass. But here's what you must understand. This phrase will only work if you speak it with genuine faith and release all doubt and fear. Florence Scovel Shinn was absolutely clear about this. She said that if you hold the thought of failure in your consciousness while speaking words of success, you neutralize the power of your affirmation. Faith is essential. Unwavering conviction is required. You must speak this phrase as though it is already true, as though the money is already yours, as though divine supply is already flowing into your life in avalanche abundance. Before I reveal the phrase, I want you to understand the preparation that makes it effective. First, you must consciously release all poverty consciousness. You must identify the limiting beliefs you've been holding about money and deliberately let them go. Forgive yourself for all the times you've spoken lack. Forgive yourself for doubting your worthiness to receive. Forgive yourself for believing that abundance was for other people but not for you. Release resentment toward wealthy people. Release the belief that money is scarce or hard to get. Release the fear that you'll never have enough. All of these beliefs and emotions create blocks in your consciousness that prevent the flow of abundance. Clear the channel first and then speak your prosperity affirmation. Second, you must cultivate gratitude for what you already have. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that gratitude is the attitude that activates abundance. When you appreciate what you have, you set up a vibrational frequency that attracts more to appreciate. Start each day by giving thanks for the money you do have, even if it seems small. Thank God for your divine supply. Thank the universe for the abundance that is flowing to you. Feel genuine appreciation for every dollar that comes into your possession. This gratitude opens your heart and mind to receive even more. Third, you must develop the consciousness of already having what you desire. This is what Florence Scovel Shinn called creating the mental equivalent. Before wealth can manifest in your external reality, it must first exist in your internal reality. You must see yourself as already prosperous. You must feel yourself as already abundant. You must think, speak, and act as a wealthy person would. This doesn't mean pretending or living beyond your means. It means cultivating the inner knowing that you are a child of divine abundance, that infinite supply is yours by spiritual inheritance, that money flows to you easily and naturally because you are aligned with prosperity consciousness. Now, here is the phrase that Florence Scovel Shinn's teachings inspire. The words that carry the vibrational frequency of abundance. the decree that activates spiritual law and opens the floodgates of prosperity. Infinite Spirit, open the way for great abundance of wealth to come to me now. I am a channel for divine supply, and large sums of money flow to me rapidly under grace in perfect ways. Speak this phrase right now, out loud if possible, with absolute conviction and unwavering faith. Speak it as though it is already done, as though the spiritual law is already activated, as though the money is already on its way to you. Feel the truth of these words in every cell of your body. Let them sink deep into your subconscious mind. Decree it with the authority of someone who understands that their word is law in their own life. This phrase is powerful for several specific reasons. First, it acknowledges infinite spirit, recognizing that abundance comes from a divine source, not from human effort alone. This aligns you with the unlimited supply of the universe rather than the limited thinking of human consciousness. Second, it uses the word now, which brings the manifestation into present time rather than pushing it off into some distant future. Third, it declares that you are a channel for divine supply, which establishes your identity as a conduit for abundance rather than someone who has to struggle and strive for money. Fourth, it specifies large sums of money, which stretches your consciousness beyond small thinking and opens you to receive significant wealth. Fifth, it includes the phrase, rapidly under grace in perfect ways, which ensures that the money comes quickly, easily, and for your highest good, without harm to anyone. This is not greed. This is alignment with divine abundance. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that when you speak such an affirmation with true faith, the universe immediately begins rearranging circumstances to bring your words into manifestation. You may not see evidence immediately in the physical realm, but in the invisible realm of cause, everything is already shifting. Opportunities are being prepared. People are being moved into position. Resources are being aligned. Money is beginning to flow in your direction. Your job is to maintain your faith, keep your consciousness aligned with abundance, and watch for the signs of your manifestation. Let me share some practical methods for working with this phrase and maximizing its power in your life. The first technique is repetition with feeling. While the phrase is powerful spoken just once with complete faith, most people benefit from repeating it regularly until prosperity consciousness becomes their default setting. Speak this affirmation every morning when you wake up and every night before you sleep. These are the times when your subconscious mind is most receptive. Say it with feeling, with passion, with absolute conviction. Don't just recite words mechanically. Infuse them with emotion. Feel the joy of abundance. Feel the relief of financial freedom. Feel the gratitude for divine supply. The emotion is what gives your words power and penetrates your subconscious mind. The second technique is visualization paired with your spoken word. After you speak the phrase, close your eyes and see money flowing into your life. See your bank account growing. See checks arriving in the mail. See unexpected income sources appearing. See yourself living in financial abundance, free from worry and stress about money. Make the visualization as detailed and real as possible. Engage all your senses. The subconscious mind thinks in images, and when you combine powerful words with vivid mental pictures, you create an irresistible force for manifestation. The third technique is to act as if your affirmation is already true. This is what Florence Scovel Shinn called demonstrating faith through action. You don't wait until you see the money to believe it's coming. You believe it's coming, and therefore you act with the confidence of someone who knows abundance is on the way. This doesn't mean being irresponsible with money you don't have. It means making decisions from abundance consciousness rather than poverty consciousness. It means being generous with what you do have. It means refusing to speak words of lack, even when external circumstances haven't changed yet. It means holding steady in your faith that divine supply is flowing to you, regardless of what your bank account currently shows. The fourth technique is to remain alert for opportunities and inspired action. When you activate spiritual law through your spoken word, the universe will begin presenting you with opportunities to receive the abundance you've decreed. These might come as unexpected job offers, business ideas, invitations to collaborate, chances to provide valuable service, or insights about investments. Don't ignore these promptings. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that faith without works is dead. You must be willing to take inspired action when guidance comes. The universe will do its part, but you must do yours. Stay open, stay alert, stay willing to move when intuition directs you. The fifth technique is to practice tithing or giving a portion of whatever money you receive. Florence Scovel Shinn was a strong believer in the principle of circulation. She taught that money is energy and energy must flow. When you give generously, you set up a circulation that ensures more will flow back to you. Tithing is an act of faith that says, I trust divine supply so completely that I can give away a portion of what I receive, knowing that more will come. It breaks the grip of poverty consciousness, which wants to hoard and clutch and fear there won't be enough. When you give freely, you demonstrate prosperity consciousness, and the universe responds by giving you even more to give. The sixth technique is to guard your words vigilantly. This is absolutely critical. If you speak your prosperity affirmation in the morning and then spend the rest of the day complaining about your finances, worrying about bills, and telling everyone how broke you are, you're canceling out the power of your affirmation. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that we must be watchmen at the gate of our thoughts and words. Every time you catch yourself about to speak lack, stop and rephrase it as abundance. Instead of, I can't afford it, say, I'm choosing not to purchase that right now, but I have abundant resources. Instead of, I'm broke, say, I'm in the process of manifesting great wealth. Instead of, money is tight, say, money flows to me from multiple sources. Train yourself to speak only words that align with the prosperity you're creating. Florence Scovel Shinn documented numerous cases of people who transformed their financial reality through the power of the spoken word. In her book, The Game of Life and How to Play It, she tells the story of a woman who was deeply in debt and saw no way out. This woman learned about spiritual law and began affirming daily that infinite spirit was opening the way for her complete financial freedom. She spoke this affirmation with unwavering faith, even when her circumstances looked hopeless. Within a remarkably short time, money began coming to her from unexpected sources. An old debt she'd written off was suddenly repaid. She received an inheritance from a relative she barely knew. Opportunities for increased income appeared seemingly out of nowhere. Within months, all her debts were paid, and she had moved from poverty consciousness to prosperity consciousness. The only thing that changed was her spoken word and the faith behind it. Another powerful example from Florence Scovel Shinn's work involves a man who needed a large sum of money for a business opportunity but had no idea where it would come from. Instead of worrying and speaking lack, he affirmed daily that God was his infinite supply and that the exact amount of money he needed was flowing to him now under grace in perfect ways. He maintained this consciousness of expectancy, speaking only words of faith and abundance. Less than a week later, he ran into an old friend he hadn't seen in years. In casual conversation, he mentioned the business opportunity, and the friend immediately offered to invest the exact amount of money needed. The man's spoken word, backed by faith in spiritual law, created the demonstration. These are not isolated incidents or lucky coincidences. This is spiritual law in action. Florence Scovel Shinn taught thousands of people these principles, and countless individuals experienced financial transformation as a result. The law works for anyone who applies it correctly. It doesn't matter what your current circumstances are. It doesn't matter how much debt you have or how empty your bank account is. It doesn't matter what your education or background or connections are. What matters is your consciousness. What matters is your faith. What matters is your spoken word. When you align these three elements with divine abundance, you activate a force in the universe that must bring wealth into your experience. It's not a matter of if, but when. And the when depends on how consistently you maintain prosperity consciousness and how firmly you believe in the power of your own word. Now I want to address some of the illusions and false beliefs that keep people trapped in poverty consciousness. Because until you recognize these mental blocks, they will continue to sabotage your prosperity no matter how many affirmations you speak. The first illusion is that money is hard to get. This is one of the most pervasive and destructive beliefs in human consciousness. It's passed down from generation to generation like a disease, and most people never question it. They simply accept it as truth because everyone around them believes it too. But Florence Scovel Shinn taught that this belief is absolutely false. Money is not hard to get. Money is everywhere, flowing in endless streams all around us. The only thing that's hard is trying to get money while holding the belief that it's hard to get. Your belief creates your experience. When you believe money is hard to get, you create resistance and struggle in your consciousness. And this resistance blocks the natural flow of abundance. The second illusion is that there's not enough to go around, that if someone else has money, there's less for you. This scarcity mentality is deadly to prosperity consciousness. The truth is that we live in an infinite universe with unlimited supply. There is no shortage of money. There is more than enough for everyone to live in absolute abundance. When you see someone else prospering, instead of feeling envious or resentful, celebrate their success and know that their abundance is evidence that the universe is abundant, which means there's plenty for you too. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that we should bless the prosperity of others because it opens the channel for our own prosperity. The third illusion is that you're not worthy of abundance. This belief usually comes from childhood programming, religious misinterpretation, or experiences of failure and rejection that left you feeling inadequate. But the spiritual truth is that you are a child of God, made in the image and likeness of infinite abundance. You are inherently worthy simply because you exist. Worthiness is not something you have to earn through hard work or good behavior. It's your birthright. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that every person has the divine right to abundance, health, love, and perfect self-expression. You don't need anyone's permission to be prosperous. You don't need to prove yourself deserving. You simply need to accept that abundance is yours by spiritual inheritance and open your consciousness to receive it. The fourth illusion is that wanting wealth is greedy or selfish. This belief has kept countless good people trapped in poverty, noble suffering while the universe is trying to shower them with abundance. There is nothing spiritual about being broke. Poverty does not make you holy. Lack does not make you virtuous. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that God's will for you is abundance in every area of your life, including finances. Money is simply a tool, a form of energy that allows you to serve others, create beauty, support causes you believe in, and live your highest purpose. The desire for wealth is not greed. It's the universe calling you to step into your power and fulfill your potential. What you do with wealth determines whether it's used for good or ill, but wealth itself is neutral and natural. The fifth illusion is that you have to sacrifice and struggle to earn money. This belief creates a consciousness of hard labor and suffering that makes the accumulation of wealth a painful, exhausting process. The truth is that money can flow to you easily and naturally when you're aligned with prosperity consciousness. Yes, you may need to take action and provide value, but it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be a struggle. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that when you're in alignment with your divine purpose and speaking words of abundance, opportunities come to you that feel joyful and natural. Work becomes play. Effort becomes flow. You find yourself in the right place at the right time, connecting with the right people. And money flows to you as a natural result of being who you are and doing what you love. These illusions are the walls of your mental prison. You can speak prosperity affirmations all day long, but if these false beliefs are still operating in your subconscious, they will block your manifestation. You must consciously identify each limiting belief and replace it with spiritual truth. This is the work of transformation. This is how you move from poverty consciousness to prosperity consciousness. Every time you catch yourself thinking or speaking one of these illusions, stop immediately and correct it with truth. Money is not hard to get. Money flows to me easily and naturally. There is more than enough for everyone. The universe is infinitely abundant. I am absolutely worthy of wealth and prosperity. Desiring abundance is natural and good. Money comes to me easily through joyful service. Reprogram your mind with these truths, and you'll be amazed how quickly your financial reality shifts. Now, I want you to understand something profound about the nature of manifestation and the power of your spoken word. When Florence Scovel Shinn taught that your word is your wand, she meant that your words are literally creative forces. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. This biblical principle reveals that creation itself happens through the spoken word. God spoke and the universe came into being. You are made in God's image, which means you also have creative power in your word. When you speak, you are not just making sounds or communicating information. You are setting vibrations in motion. You are instructing your subconscious mind. You are broadcasting a frequency into the quantum field. You are decreeing what shall be created in your experience. This is why casual, unconscious speech is so dangerous. Every word you speak is an affirmation, a decree, a command to the creative forces of the universe. When you complain, you're affirming and creating more to complain about. When you speak fear, you're affirming and attracting more to fear. When you declare lack, you're creating more lack. Most people are completely unaware of this, so they go through life speaking whatever thoughts pop into their heads, never realizing they're actively creating their own suffering through careless words. But once you understand this spiritual law, once you recognize the creative power in your mouth, you can take conscious control of your words and begin deliberately creating the life you desire. This is the great secret that Florence Scovel Shinn taught. You don't need special abilities or gifts. You don't need to be born under a lucky star. You don't need connections or advantages. You simply need to understand spiritual law and align your words with what you want to create. Speak prosperity and you create prosperity. Speak abundance and you create abundance. Speak wealth and you create wealth. It's that simple, and it's that profound. The universe is not withholding anything from you. You have been withholding it from yourself through words of limitation, doubt, and fear. But today, right now, you can change your words and begin changing your life. This is why the phrase I shared with you earlier is so powerful. Infinite Spirit, open the way for great abundance of wealth to come to me now. I am a channel for divine supply, and large sums of money flow to me rapidly under grace in perfect ways. Every word in this affirmation is precisely chosen to create the consciousness and conditions for wealth to manifest. Let me break down why each part is essential. Infinite Spirit connects you with the source of all abundance, acknowledging that wealth comes from God, not from limited human effort. Open the way recognizes that there may be blocks or obstacles in your consciousness that need to be cleared, and you're asking for divine intervention to remove them. Great abundance of wealth specifies exactly what you're creating. You're not asking for a little bit or just enough to get by. You're declaring great abundance because you understand that the universe is unlimited. To come to me now brings the manifestation into present time. The subconscious mind and the universe respond to now, not to someday or eventually. By saying now, you're creating urgency and expectation. I am a channel for divine supply establishes your identity and role in the prosperity equation. You're not struggling to get money from unwilling sources. You're a channel, a conduit, a vessel through which infinite abundance flows. This removes all sense of strain and effort. Large sums of money, again, specifies the magnitude of what you're creating. This pushes against any small thinking or limitation in your consciousness. Flow to me rapidly emphasizes speed and ease. Money doesn't trickle slowly. It flows rapidly like a river. Under grace ensures that the manifestation comes through divine order, not through manipulation or harm. In perfect ways, trust that the universe knows the best ways to bring wealth to you, ways you might never have imagined or planned. Every single word in this affirmation works together to create a complete consciousness of abundance. When you speak these words with faith and feeling, you're not just hoping for prosperity. You're not just wishing or wanting. You're decreeing it into existence through the spiritual law of the spoken word. You're commanding your subconscious mind to create the mental equivalent of wealth. You're broadcasting a frequency into the universe that attracts money to you, like a magnet attracts iron. You're activating every spiritual principle that governs manifestation. This is why it's so powerful. This is why speaking it just once with complete faith can shift your entire financial trajectory. But I want to be absolutely clear about what faith means in this context, because many people misunderstand it. Faith is not blind belief. Faith is not hoping really hard while secretly doubting. Faith is not pretending to believe while your gut is churning with fear. Real faith, the kind that moves mountains and manifests miracles, is a deep inner knowing that what you've spoken is already done in the spiritual realm and must eventually appear in the physical realm. It's being so certain of your prosperity that you can relax about it. It's being so convinced of divine supply that you stop worrying about money. It's knowing with absolute certainty that spiritual law never fails. And because you've aligned your words with that law, your desired outcome is guaranteed. Florence Scovel Shinn said, "You will be a failure until you impress the subconscious with the conviction you are a success." This is the key. Your subconscious mind must be impressed with the conviction, the absolute knowing, that prosperity is yours. Not hope, not wish. Conviction. How do you develop this conviction? By understanding spiritual law so thoroughly that doubt becomes impossible. By studying the principles Florence Scovel Shinn taught until they become as real to you as gravity. By examining the evidence of others who have applied these principles successfully. By testing the law yourself in small ways and experiencing proof that it works. By meditating on spiritual truth until it penetrates every level of your consciousness. When you know something, really know it at the deepest level, you can't not believe it. You can't doubt it. It becomes your reality. This is the consciousness that manifests wealth. Let me give you some more practical guidance for maintaining this consciousness after you've spoken your prosperity affirmation. The moments, hours, and days after you speak your decree are critical. This is when your faith will be tested. This is when doubt will try to creep in. This is when your old poverty consciousness will try to reassert itself and convince you that nothing is happening, that it's not working, that you were foolish to believe in spiritual law. You must be prepared for this and stand firm in your faith. Florence Scovel Shinn called this standing porter at the door of your thoughts. You must guard against any thought or word that contradicts your affirmation. When fear arises about your finances, immediately replace it with your affirmation. When doubt whispers that this won't work for you, speak your decree again with even more conviction. When you're tempted to complain about your bank account, instead express gratitude for divine supply. When someone asks about your financial situation and you're tempted to unload all your problems, simply say, "I'm in a transition. Wonderful prosperity is coming to me now." You don't owe anyone an explanation of your spiritual practice. You don't need to justify your faith. You simply need to protect your consciousness from anything that would weaken your manifestation. Another critical element is to celebrate signs of your manifestation, no matter how small. When you find a penny on the ground, pick it up with gratitude and recognize it as evidence that money is flowing to you. When you receive an unexpected $5, celebrate it as proof that divine supply is active in your life. When someone treats you to coffee or a meal, recognize it as the universe providing for you. These small demonstrations are important because they build your faith and train your consciousness to expect more. Too many people dismiss small amounts of money as insignificant, waiting for the big manifestation before they'll believe. But Florence Scovel Shinn taught that small things lead to big things. Gratitude for the small opens the door for the large. Appreciation for what comes now creates space for more to come later. You should also pay attention to intuitive guidance and inspired ideas that come after you speak your affirmation. The universe will often respond to your spoken word by giving you ideas, insights, or promptings about actions to take. You might suddenly think of someone you should call, a service you could provide, a skill you could develop, an investment you should research, or a job you should apply for. Don't dismiss these nudges as random thoughts. They're divine guidance showing you the path to your prosperity. Florence Scovel Shinn called these divine leads, and she taught that following them is essential to manifestation. Spiritual law may open the way for wealth to come to you, but you must walk through the doors when they open. You must be willing to act on inspiration. You must trust the guidance you receive. It's also important to understand the concept of divine timing. Sometimes wealth manifests immediately after speaking your affirmation. Sometimes it takes days, weeks, or even months. The timing depends on how much inner work needs to be done, how deeply rooted your limiting beliefs are, how consistent you are in maintaining prosperity consciousness, and what the divine plan is for your life. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that our job is not to dictate timing. Our job is to maintain faith and speak our word with power. Then trust that the universe will deliver in the perfect way at the perfect time. Impatience is a form of doubt, and doubt blocks manifestation. So after you speak your prosperity affirmation, release it to divine timing. Know that it's done, relax in that knowing, and allow the unfolding to happen naturally. Many people ask whether they should speak their prosperity affirmation just once or repeat it regularly. The answer depends on your level of faith and the depth of your poverty consciousness. If you have strong faith and little resistance, speaking the phrase once with complete conviction can indeed trigger immediate manifestation. Florence Scovel Shinn documented cases where this happened. But for most people, especially those who have spent years or decades in poverty consciousness, repetition is beneficial and necessary. Repetition impresses the subconscious mind. It builds momentum. It deepens the new neural pathways of prosperity thinking. It crowds out the old mental patterns of lack and limitation. So my recommendation is to speak your affirmation at least once daily, preferably in the morning to set your consciousness for the day, and at night to program your subconscious while you sleep. Do this consistently for at least 30 days, which is typically how long it takes to establish a new mental habit. However, the key is not mechanical repetition. The key is speaking with faith and feeling every single time. If you repeat your affirmation 10 times while your mind is wandering or your heart is filled with doubt, you accomplish nothing. Better to speak it once with absolute conviction than 100 times with skepticism. Florence Scovel Shinn emphasized quality over quantity. She taught that one word spoken with faith has more power than 1,000 words spoken with doubt. So whenever you speak your prosperity affirmation, do it consciously. Do it deliberately. Feel the words. Believe the words. Know that they're creating your reality in that very moment. Let me address the question of what constitutes large sums of money, because this will vary for different people. For someone living in extreme poverty, a large sum might be $1,000. For someone more comfortable, it might be $10,000 or $100,000. For someone already wealthy, it might be millions. The beautiful thing about this affirmation is that it works regardless of the specific amount, because it's not tied to a number. It says large sums relative to your current consciousness and need. The universe knows what large sums mean to you. Your subconscious knows what would represent significant abundance in your life. Trust that when you speak this affirmation, you're opening to receive whatever amount is right and perfect for you at this stage of your journey. Some people prefer to specify exact amounts in their affirmations, and Florence Scovel Shinn taught that this can be effective if you can speak a specific number without doubt. For example, I now receive $50,000 under grace in perfect ways. If you can state a specific amount and believe it completely, without any inner voice saying that's impossible, then by all means be specific. But if speaking a specific number triggers doubt or disbelief, it's better to use more general language like large sums or great abundance until your consciousness expands enough to accommodate the specific amount. You want your affirmation to stretch your consciousness without breaking your faith. Find the sweet spot between thinking too small and claiming something so large. I also want to address the role of gratitude in the manifestation process, because this is something Florence Scovel Shinn emphasized repeatedly. Gratitude is not just politeness or good manners. Gratitude is a powerful spiritual principle that accelerates manifestation. When you give thanks for your prosperity before it manifests in physical form, you're demonstrating faith. You're affirming that it's already done. You're vibrating at the frequency of having received. The universe responds to the vibration you're sending out, not to your current circumstances. So if you wait until you have the money to feel grateful, you're operating backwards. You must feel grateful now, before you see evidence, and that gratitude helps pull the manifestation into physical reality. Make it a daily practice to give thanks for the wealth that is flowing to you. Say things like, "Thank you, Infinite Spirit, for the large sums of money flowing into my life now. Thank you for my overflowing abundance. Thank you for making me a magnet for prosperity. Thank you for every dollar I receive. Thank you for surprising me with unexpected income from multiple sources." Feel genuine appreciation as you speak these words. Let gratitude fill your heart. This emotional energy charges your affirmations with power and signals to the universe that you're ready to receive. Gratitude keeps you in a high vibration where miracles can happen and wealth can flow. Now, I want to talk about the importance of surrounding yourself with prosperity consciousness. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that we're influenced by the mental atmosphere around us. If you spend all your time with people who complain about money, talk about how hard life is, and reinforce poverty consciousness, their negative beliefs will seep into your subconscious and undermine your manifestation work. This doesn't mean you need to abandon friends or family who are struggling, but it does mean you need to be discerning about whose energy and beliefs you allow into your consciousness. Protect your mental space. Guard your prosperity consciousness like the precious treasure it is. Seek out stories of people who have manifested wealth. Read books about prosperity principles. Listen to teachings that reinforce abundance mentality. Florence Scovel Shinn's own books, The Game of Life and How to Play It, Your Word is Your Wand, and The Power of the Spoken Word are invaluable resources that you should read and reread until the principles become second nature. Fill your mind with truth about divine supply and spiritual law. Let these ideas dominate your consciousness. The more you immerse yourself in prosperity teaching, the more natural it becomes to think, speak, and act from abundance rather than lack. Also, pay attention to the media you consume. If you're constantly watching news that reports economic disasters, if you're reading articles about recession and financial collapse, if you're scrolling through social media posts complaining about how expensive everything is, you're programming your subconscious with fear and scarcity. Florence Scovel Shinn lived through the Great Depression, yet she continued teaching abundance and witnessed countless demonstrations of prosperity, even in that difficult economic climate. Why? Because spiritual law transcends economic conditions. Your prosperity is not dependent on the economy. It's dependent on your consciousness. But if you fill your consciousness with negative economic information, you make it much harder for wealth to manifest in your experience. This brings me to an important point about the relationship between your spoken word and your mental diet. Your affirmations are like seeds planted in soil. If you plant seeds of prosperity through your affirmations but then constantly pour poison on the soil through worry, fear, and negative thinking, your seeds can't grow. You must tend the garden of your mind carefully. When fearful thoughts about money arise, don't try to fight them or suppress them. Simply acknowledge them and then replace them with truth. I notice I'm feeling fear about my finances. I recognize this is old programming. The truth is that infinite spirit is my supply, and divine abundance flows to me constantly. I have nothing to fear. This gentle redirection is more effective than trying to force yourself not to think certain thoughts. Florence Scovel Shinn taught a technique she called denials and affirmations. A denial is a statement that cancels out a false belief, and an affirmation is a statement that establishes truth in its place. For example, if you notice yourself believing that money is scarce, you would first deny that belief. There is no truth in the belief that money is scarce. This is an illusion of human consciousness. Then you would follow with an affirmation. The truth is that the universe is infinitely abundant, and more than enough money exists for everyone, including me. This 1-2 punch of denial and affirmation is extremely effective for dismantling limiting beliefs and replacing them with empowering truth. Another powerful technique is to personalize biblical promises and spiritual truths about prosperity. The Bible is filled with statements about God's abundance and provision, and when you claim these promises as your own, you align with ancient spiritual authority. For example, "My God shall supply all my need according to his riches in glory" becomes, "My God is supplying all my needs right now according to infinite riches." Or, "Give, and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over" becomes, "As I give generously, abundance is pouring back to me in overflowing measure." Florence Scovel Shinn frequently adapted scriptural principles in this way, making them personal and present tense. This technique connects you with the power of sacred texts and thousands of years of spiritual tradition. Let's talk about the phenomenon of demonstration and how you'll know your affirmation is working. A demonstration is metaphysical language for a manifestation, the moment when what you've been affirming in consciousness appears in physical reality. Demonstrations can be large or small, and they often come in unexpected ways. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that the universe is far more creative than our human minds, so we should never limit how our good can come to us. When you affirm that large sums of money are flowing to you, stay open to all possibilities. The money might come through a raise or bonus at work. It might come through an unexpected inheritance or gift. You might suddenly be guided to an investment opportunity that multiplies your resources. Someone might offer to pay off a debt for you, which is the same as receiving cash. You might win a prize or contest you didn't even know you'd entered. A business opportunity might fall into your lap. Old friends might reconnect and open doors you never imagined. The key is to not get attached to how the money must come. Many people sabotage their manifestations by deciding that wealth can only come through their current job or a specific source they're focused on. They speak their affirmation, but then mentally limit the channels through which abundance can flow. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that we should decree the end result, but release the means to divine intelligence. Say, Infinite Spirit, you know the perfect way to bring wealth to me. I trust your infinite creativity. I'm open to receiving from expected and unexpected sources, from multiple channels, in ways that delight and surprise me. This openness allows the universe to orchestrate circumstances in ways you could never plan or predict. When demonstrations begin occurring, it's essential that you acknowledge them and express gratitude, even if they seem small at first. Remember, the universe often tests your faithfulness with little before entrusting you with much. If you receive $10 and dismiss it as insignificant, you're telling the universe that you don't appreciate what it sends. But if you receive $10 and celebrate it with the same joy you'd feel receiving $10,000, you're demonstrating gratitude and faith that open the way for larger amounts. Florence Scovel Shinn told the story of a woman who needed a large sum of money and began affirming for it. Shortly after, she found a dime on the street. Instead of dismissing it, she picked it up and said, "Thank you, God, for this demonstration. I know this is the beginning of my great abundance." Within days, she received the full amount she needed. The dime was a test of her faith and gratitude. This brings up the spiritual principle that you must be faithful in little before you can be entrusted with much. If you're not managing well the money you currently have, if you're being wasteful or irresponsible or ungrateful for what you do possess, why would the universe give you more to mismanage? Florence Scovel Shinn taught that we must demonstrate prosperity consciousness at every level. Even if you only have a few dollars, treat that money with respect. Keep your wallet or purse organized. Don't crumple bills or disrespect currency. Handle money as though it's sacred because, in a sense, it is. It's energy in form, and it deserves to be honored. Pay your bills with gratitude, not resentment. When you spend money, bless it and release it joyfully, knowing that what you send out returns to you multiplied. Many people undermine their prosperity by having a negative emotional relationship with money. They resent paying bills. They feel guilty about spending on themselves. They're anxious and stressed every time they think about finances. These negative emotions create resistance in consciousness that blocks the flow of abundance. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that we must bless our bills and our expenses, seeing them as channels through which we circulate energy. When you pay your rent or mortgage, say, "I bless this payment and the wonderful shelter it provides me." When you pay utility bills, say, "I'm grateful for the electricity, water, and warmth that support my comfort." When you buy groceries, say, "Thank you for this nourishing food and my ability to provide for myself and my loved ones." This shift from resentment to gratitude transforms your relationship with money and opens the channel for more to flow in. It's also important to understand the difference between attachment and desire. Desire for wealth is natural and good. It's the universe calling you to expand, to grow, to express more fully. But attachment to wealth, where your happiness and peace depend on having money, creates a desperate energy that repels prosperity. Florence Scovel Shinn taught the principle of non-resistance, which means you desire wealth and work toward it, but you don't clutch at it desperately or let your emotional state be determined by your bank balance. You maintain inner peace regardless of external circumstances, knowing that your true source is infinite spirit. not money. Money is simply a tool, a resource, a form of energy. When you have this healthy detachment, wealth flows to you much more easily because you're not pushing it away with neediness. Here's something profound that Florence Scovel Shinn understood. Poverty is not humility, and wealth is not pride. Many spiritual seekers have confused these concepts, thinking that to be humble they must be poor, or that desiring wealth is somehow ego-driven and unspiritual. This is a tragic misunderstanding that has kept countless good people locked in limitation. True humility is recognizing that all abundance comes from God, and that you are simply a channel for divine supply. True pride is thinking that you create wealth through your own power alone, separate from source. When you understand that infinite spirit is the source of your prosperity, and you are the avenue through which it flows, you can desire and receive great wealth without any sense of ego or separation. In fact, the more wealth you have, the more you can serve, give, bless, and help others. Poverty serves no one. Abundance allows you to be a greater blessing in the world. Florence Scovel Shinn also taught about the importance of forgiveness in clearing the way for prosperity. If you're holding resentment, bitterness, or anger toward anyone, especially around money issues, this creates a block in your consciousness. Maybe someone owes you money and hasn't paid you back. Maybe a business partner cheated you. Maybe a family member didn't give you an inheritance you expected. Maybe you feel that life or God has been unfair to you financially. All of these resentments must be released if you want abundance to flow freely. Forgiveness doesn't mean condoning wrong behavior. It means releasing the emotional charge so that you're free. Say, I forgive everyone who has ever wronged me financially. I release all resentment and anger. I set myself and them free. I trust that divine justice is handling all situations, and I open myself to receive all the good that is mine by divine right. You should also forgive yourself for any financial mistakes you've made. Maybe you've made bad investments. Maybe you've been irresponsible with money in the past. Maybe you've filed bankruptcy or had debts you couldn't pay. Maybe you've missed opportunities or made choices you regret. Holding guilt and shame about your financial past blocks your prosperous future. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that mistakes are simply lessons, and once the lesson is learned, you can release the mistake. Say, I forgive myself completely for all financial errors I've made. I learned from those experiences, and now I move forward with wisdom and prosperity consciousness. My past does not determine my future. I am creating financial abundance now. Let me share with you a powerful visualization technique that Florence Scovel Shinn recommended for impressing the subconscious mind with prosperity. Each night before you sleep, when your subconscious is most receptive, create a detailed mental movie of yourself living in complete financial abundance. See yourself checking your bank balance and seeing large sums of money. See yourself receiving checks in the mail. See yourself making purchases without worry or hesitation. See yourself giving generously to causes and people you care about. See yourself living in a beautiful home, driving a reliable car, wearing quality clothes, enjoying experiences that bring you joy. Make this visualization as real and detailed as possible. Engage your emotions. Feel the security, the freedom, the joy of financial abundance. Do this every night for at least 30 days, and you'll be amazed at how your external reality begins to shift to match your internal pictures. Another technique is to create a prosperity journal where you record all demonstrations of abundance, no matter how small. When you find money, write it down. When you receive unexpected income, record it. When someone treats you to something or gives you a gift, note it. When you get a discount or a refund, include it. This journal serves two purposes. First, it trains your mind to notice abundance that's already flowing to you, which you might otherwise overlook. Second, it builds your faith by providing concrete evidence that spiritual law is working in your life. On days when doubt tries to creep in, you can review your prosperity journal and see all the demonstrations that have already occurred, which strengthens your faith for bigger manifestations. Florence Scovel Shinn also recommended using treasure maps or vision boards, where you collect images that represent the prosperity you're creating. Cut out pictures of beautiful homes, exotic travel destinations, luxury items you desire, or even just images of money itself. Arrange these images on a board and place it where you'll see it daily. This visual reminder keeps your prosperity consciousness active and gives your subconscious mind clear pictures of what you're manifesting. Every time you look at your vision board, speak a prosperity affirmation and feel the emotions of already having what you desire. Now, let me address a question that often arises. What if you speak your prosperity affirmation with faith, but you still experience delays or obstacles? This is where understanding spiritual law becomes crucial. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that there's often a time lag between the word spoken and the manifestation appearing. And during this time lag, old karma may be clearing, tests of faith may arise, or necessary inner work may be happening. These are not signs that the law isn't working. They're part of the process. Your job is to hold steady to your faith and continue speaking your word regardless of external circumstances. The Bible says faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. You must have faith in the invisible reality you're creating with your words even before you see physical proof. Sometimes delays occur because you're being protected from receiving abundance before you're ready to handle it wisely. Sometimes obstacles appear because they're pushing you in a different direction that will ultimately lead to greater prosperity than you originally envisioned. Sometimes challenges arise to strengthen your faith muscles and teach you to trust spiritual law more deeply. Whatever the reason for any delay, your response should be the same. Continue speaking your prosperity affirmation. Maintain your faith, trust divine timing, and watch for the guidance that will show you your next step. Florence Scovel Shinn said, "Delays are not denials. Just because your wealth hasn't manifested yet doesn't mean it won't. Keep the faith." It's also important to understand that sometimes the universe needs to rearrange circumstances in your life before great wealth can flow to you. Maybe you need to meet certain people first. Maybe you need to develop certain skills or knowledge. Maybe you need to complete a lesson or healing before you're ready for abundance. Maybe opportunities need to be prepared that don't exist yet. All of this happens in invisible ways while you maintain your prosperity consciousness. Trust the process. Trust divine intelligence. Trust that everything is unfolding perfectly, even when you can't see evidence yet. Let me give you some specific examples of how to apply your prosperity affirmation in various real-life situations. Let's say you're facing a stack of bills you don't know how to pay. Instead of panicking and speaking lack, you would say, "Infinite Spirit, open the way for great abundance of wealth to come to me now. I am a channel for divine supply, and large sums of money flow to me rapidly under grace in perfect ways. These bills are already paid in the spiritual realm, and I now see the physical manifestation of that reality." Then you would go about your day with the inner knowing that divine supply is handling your needs. You might be guided to call a creditor and work out a payment plan. You might receive unexpected money from a source you hadn't considered. You might suddenly remember a debt someone owes you that they're now ready to repay. Stay open and watch for divine leads. Or let's say you desire to start a business but don't have the capital. Instead of letting lack of money stop you, you would speak your affirmation, "Infinite Spirit, open the way for great abundance of wealth to come to me now. I am a channel for divine supply, and all the money I need for this business flows to me rapidly under grace in perfect ways." Then you would take whatever steps you can take with the resources you do have. You might create a business plan. You might research your market. You might network with people in your industry. You might start small with what you have while affirming for more. As you take inspired action while maintaining prosperity consciousness, investors may appear, loans may be offered, partners may emerge, or creative solutions may present themselves that you never imagined. Or perhaps you're working in a job where you feel undervalued and underpaid. Instead of complaining or staying stuck in resentment, you would affirm, "Infinite Spirit, open the way for great abundance of wealth to come to me now. I am a channel for divine supply, and large sums of money flow to me rapidly under grace in perfect ways. I now have the perfect position where I'm valued, appreciated, and abundantly compensated." Then you would either see transformation in your current position, perhaps a raise or promotion, or you would be divinely guided to a new opportunity that provides the increase you desire. The key is to speak your word and then stay alert for the guidance and opportunities that follow. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that we should always make our demonstrations as specific as necessary, but as open as possible regarding the means. Don't tell the universe how to bring your prosperity. Don't limit divine creativity by insisting it must come through certain channels. Simply be clear about the end result you desire, in this case, large sums of money, and let infinite intelligence orchestrate the details. The universe has access to resources, connections, and opportunities that you don't even know exist. When you try to control the how, you limit what's possible. When you release the how and trust divine intelligence, miracles can happen. I want to emphasize again the critical importance of your words in every area of your life, not just when you're speaking formal affirmations. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that we must become consciously aware of our casual speech, because that's where most people sabotage themselves. You might speak a beautiful prosperity affirmation in the morning and then spend the rest of the day saying things like, "I'm broke. I can't afford that. Money doesn't grow on trees. The economy is terrible. I'll never get ahead." Each one of these statements is also an affirmation, and these negative affirmations cancel out your positive ones. It's like trying to drive forward with the parking brake engaged. You must be vigilant about every word you speak regarding money and prosperity. Make it a game to catch yourself before speaking words of lack and rephrase them as abundance. This takes practice and conscious attention at first, but eventually it becomes automatic. Your new default will be speaking prosperity rather than poverty. Train yourself to say, "I choose not to." Purchase that right now instead of, "I can't afford it." Say, "Money is flowing to me from multiple sources." Instead of, "Money is tight," say, "I'm building wealth" instead of, "I'm broke." These may seem like small changes, but they're actually profound shifts in consciousness that will transform your financial reality over time. Florence Scovel Shinn also taught the power of blessing. Bless the money you have. Bless the money you spend. Bless the money that comes to you. Bless wealthy people. Bless successful businesses. Bless abundance wherever you see it. When you bless, you're acknowledging the good and calling for more of it. When you resent or criticize wealth, you push it away from yourself. Make it a habit to silently bless every financial transaction you witness. When you see someone driving an expensive car, bless them instead of envying them. When you hear about someone's business success, celebrate them instead of feeling jealous. This practice of blessing keeps your consciousness positive and magnetizes prosperity to you. Another powerful practice is to give thanks in advance for specific amounts of money. For example, you might say, "Thank you, Infinite Spirit, for the $10,000 that is now flowing into my life under grace in perfect ways." By thanking God before you receive, you're demonstrating faith that it's already done in the spiritual realm. This is what Jesus did before raising Lazarus from the dead. He thanked his Father before the miracle occurred. This is the consciousness of faith that brings demonstrations into reality. Practice thanking God throughout the day for money that hasn't manifested yet, and watch how quickly it begins appearing. Let me share one more story from Florence Scovel Shinn's work that illustrates these principles beautifully. She tells of a man who was deeply in debt and desperate for money. Someone taught him about the power of affirmations and spiritual law. Instead of worrying and complaining, he began affirming daily, "I give thanks for my immediate, complete, and endless prosperity now made manifest in the name of Jesus Christ." He spoke this with absolute faith, even though his circumstances looked hopeless. He continued this practice for several weeks without seeing any change, but he refused to give up or doubt. Then, one day, completely out of the blue, he was contacted by an attorney who informed him that a distant relative he'd never even met had died and left him a substantial inheritance. The exact amount he needed to pay all his debts, plus enough to live comfortably for years, came to him through a channel he never could have predicted or planned. This is the power of the spoken word combined with unwavering faith. As we come toward the close of our time together, I want to activate your inner power and make sure you understand that this moment right now is your moment of transformation. You don't need anyone's permission to be prosperous. You don't need to wait for conditions to change or for someone to rescue you. You don't need special credentials or advantages or luck. What you need is already within you. It's your consciousness. It's your faith. It's your spoken word. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that every person has the creative power of God within them, and that power is activated through the words you speak. You are not a victim of circumstances. You are a creator of circumstances. The moment you recognize this truth and begin speaking from prosperity consciousness rather than poverty consciousness, everything shifts. Your word is your wand. What you decree shall come to pass. These are not just pretty sayings. These are spiritual laws as real and reliable as any physical law. You can test them. You can prove them in your own experience. Speak the prosperity affirmation I've shared with you. Speak it with faith. Speak it as though it's already true, because in the spiritual realm it is already true. Maintain your prosperity consciousness regardless of external circumstances. Guard your words vigilantly. Bless abundance wherever you see it. Give thanks for demonstrations before they appear. Take inspired action when guidance comes, and watch as large sums of money begin flowing into your life through channels you never imagined. The universe is abundant beyond your wildest dreams. There is more than enough for everyone. There is no shortage, no scarcity, no lack except in human consciousness. God's will for you is abundance in every area of your life. You are not meant to struggle and suffer and barely survive. You are meant to thrive, to prosper, to overflow with wealth that allows you to live fully and serve generously. This is your birthright as a child of God. Stop accepting less than what is yours by divine inheritance. Stop believing the lies of poverty consciousness. Step into the truth of your prosperity. Florence Scovel Shinn lived these principles and taught thousands of people to do the same. Her teachings have transformed lives for over a century, and they will transform yours if you apply them faithfully. The spiritual laws she revealed are not theoretical philosophy. They are practical principles that work in the real world, in everyday life, for ordinary people facing ordinary challenges. You don't need to be special or gifted. You simply need to understand the law and align yourself with it. You need to speak words that match what you want to create, rather than words that reinforce what you want to change. This is your moment to claim your prosperity. Not someday. Not when conditions are perfect. Not when you feel more worthy or more ready. Now. Right now. In this present moment, you can make the decision to release poverty consciousness and embrace prosperity consciousness. You can speak your affirmation with faith. You can decree that large sums of money are flowing to you rapidly under grace in perfect ways. And when you do this with genuine conviction, something shifts in the invisible realm. Doors begin to open. Opportunities begin to align. Resources begin to move in your direction. Money begins to flow. You have a greater purpose in this world, and that purpose requires resources. You're meant to be a blessing to others, and you can't bless from a place of lack. When you prosper, everyone around you benefits. When you break free from financial limitation, you inspire others to do the same. When you demonstrate the power of prosperity consciousness, you become living proof that these spiritual principles work. So your wealth is not just about you. It's about the impact you're meant to have, the people you're meant to serve, the difference you're meant to make. Step into your abundance so you can fulfill your purpose. In the comments, share one prosperity affirmation you'll start using today and what limiting belief you're ready to release. Let's create a community of abundance consciousness where we support each other in breaking free from poverty thinking and manifesting the wealth that is our divine birthright. Share your demonstrations when they occur. Share your journey from lack to abundance. Share the lessons you learn as you apply these principles. Together, we create a collective field of prosperity consciousness that lifts everyone higher. Remember what Florence Scovel Shinn said, "You will be a failure until you impress the subconscious with the conviction you are a success." Your words are creating your reality right now, in this very moment. Every word you speak is an instruction to your subconscious mind and a decree to the universe about what to create in your experience. Stop speaking lack. Stop declaring limitation. Stop affirming poverty. Start speaking abundance. Start declaring prosperity. Start affirming wealth. The universe is abundant, unlimited, and overflowing with resources. You are worthy of receiving. You are a channel for divine supply. Large sums of money are flowing to you now under grace in perfect ways. Speak this truth. Believe this truth. Live from this truth. And watch as your financial reality transforms before your eyes. Your prosperity begins now.